So it seems like this Halloween event in For Honor we get to fight Quailag as a raid boss. In last week's Warriors Den, Ubisoft released a trailer for the Halloween event, Web of the Jogumo. Now, this video will probably drop the day after the event starts, so I can't speak for the quality of gameplay in the event. I'm hoping it won't be dead on arrival like most special game modes. Before we jump into the video, a quick shout out to General Fujikiyo. Fucking dick! Can't say Jack, man. Fuck.
It's fucking unprofessional!
Before we jump into the video, a quick shout out to General Fujikiyo who contributed to this video. I'll put a link in the description so you can check his channel out. Watch this video first though, then go check his channel out. Tying the skin into an event mode that takes inspiration from Japanese folklore is a cool idea, and I just wanted to take some time to appreciate what Ubisoft has done here. Yes, I know they should be making new animations and assets for the game anyway, but let's just enjoy this for a moment, okay? It's become ever more apparent that Ubisoft is delving further into fantasy with recent For Honor seasons, and it's got me thinking, should For Honor go full fantasy? I'm going to repeat this again because some people don't understand. For Honor is not a historically accurate game, it is a fantasy game. It takes inspiration from historical influences. In this video, I am approaching from more of an art direction standpoint than anything else. I'm not going to talk in depth about lore because, you know, it's a fucking mess. Going forward, I want you to remember that for fantasy to work, you still need to have it be grounded. That sounds like a contradiction, so what do I mean? Well, Laurie, it means that you still need to have rules to be followed for the world to make sense. Lord of the Rings is fantasy, but Aragorn doesn't pull out a Kalashnikov and start gunning down Uruk-hai at Helm's Deep, okay? Fantasy still needs to have an element of realism in order not to break your suspension of disbelief. It must be believable in its own world that it takes place in. So what does all this waffle have to do with For Honor? For Honor has always dipped its toes into fantasy. Initially, the game was very grounded in what I'll call a quote-unquote normal reality. I think the recent event trailer was nice. The tone, aesthetics, and presentation of the story they're telling with this season, it really worked for me. Like, whoever conceptualized this trailer did a sick fucking job, alright? As for the skin, I think it's okay. I would even say good. I can see why some people don't like it. It's not as cool as Ramiel, I think, but it's leaps and bounds above He Who Shall Not Be Named. I think I want to see how colours and materials work on it first, but overall I actually think it's really nice. This event seems to be hitting the vibes, at least with the presentation, compared to something like that horrendous Year 5 Draconite saga. This fucking slaps, okay? Now, I know what you're thinking. What's the big deal? Why have you got a hard-on for this event? Because this is a prime example of Ubisoft doing fantasy right in For Honor. They have drawn inspiration from Japanese folklore to create a story that's fun. And from what I can gather, this might be quite a unique game mode. The boss looks like she's not just going to be another Commander reskin, which they seem to have a habit of doing. And the way they've built up the event with the introduction of the dagger, the fog and the kappa on Temple Garden, and then you've had this reveal of Jogumo, it works with the spooky atmosphere that they have created, especially in the build-up to Halloween. And I kind of like how the samurai faction is getting its own mythological creature in game, similar to how the Vikings got Jormungandr. What the hell even is a Jogumo, anyway?
In Japan, some spiders are known to possess amazing supernatural powers. One of these is named Jogumo, known as the Golden Weaver in English. The Jogumo is most well known for being the arachnid yokai. Jogumo lives two lives, both as a spider and as a yokai. When a Golden Weaver reaches 400 years of age, it develops magical powers and begins to feed on human prey instead of insects. The Jogumo makes their nests in caves, forests, and empty houses. Possessing a cunning intelligence and a cold heart, they see humans nothing more as insects to feed on. They are skilled deceivers and powerful shapeshifters, usually taking the appearance of a young, sexy, and stunning beautiful woman. Also famous for their cruel destruction they wreak on young men, as well as the ability to control lesser spiders.
Even the trailer gives off Japanese horror vibes at the beginning. This is more apparent when you look at the skin. It's like they've taken inspiration from body horror films with the moving eyes. What I'm trying to say is, there's a right and a wrong direction to go with fantasy in this game. Taking inspiration from real world legends, Jormungandr from Norse mythology, Jagumo from Japanese folklore, even the dragons from medieval Europe. It's familiar. You're taking myths and legends of the real life faction counterparts and you're putting them in game. That's fun. That's a cool concept. It also helps reinforce some kind of uniqueness between the factions. If you compare this to Year 5 and the Draconite stuff, like where do I even start? I can appreciate that this was during COVID, but that didn't force you to come up with this dumb shit, okay? This is a prime example of how not to introduce fantastical elements into the game. I did my research to check if the Draconite was based on anything, and this was all I could find. Whether this is the inspiration for the Draconite or an in-game explanation, I don't know, and to be honest, I don't care. We've got a magic rock with a host of random properties that doesn't really make sense. Everyone was fighting over it. I think it gives Warmonger corruption powers, I'm not really sure. Basically, it's lame. You're trying to come up with an original story in your multiplayer only game where you explain the story through daily bounties. How is anybody going to understand what this shit means? Compare this to something like, oh, look, that's fucking Jormungandr. He's the world serpent from Norse mythology. People will recognise what that is. It's familiar. Half your work is already done. Oh, just ignore the story. It's not important anyway. And this is kind of true, and yeah, you can do this to an extent, but when it impacts the whole tone of the game for months, it's kind of hard to completely ignore. And if it was up to me, I would keep everything in the samurai-based season to the samurai, the dagger execution, etc. I've said everything I've had to say about this in my universal content video, but I think giving things based around Japanese folklore to the Viking faction, for example, it just undermines it. Now, I'm going to leave this open-ended as I'm not sure how I feel about it. Would I like to see more stuff like this event? Yes. Is that an excuse for them to completely go off the deep end and start adding random shit? No. I think events like this one bring a little bit more personality back to the game, but it also keeps things lighthearted, easy to understand and enjoy. And isn't that what it should be about? But cautiously, I think I would like to see more content in this direction. I don't know. Let's get a discussion going. Let me know what you think. I'm going now. I'm very tired. I think doing a fucking 15-minute Sekiro video just kind of killed me off. My creative energy is gone. I'm gonna go take a fucking nap.